What's going on, guys? In this video, I'm going to show you all of the cold email lead generation softwares that you need to know of in order to make the most of your cold email campaigns. This is updated for April 2024, so just keep that in mind when you're watching this. Before we start, if you do own a B2B company and are looking for a cold email lead generation solution where you only pay per qualified call, make sure to book a call in the description, and then we can see how we can help you in specific. We've been booking calls with companies like BMW, Jaguar Land Rover, Berkshire Hathaway, and a bunch of other ones in some pretty hard markets to do cold email in. So book a call below if you're interested, and let's get right into the video. First, we're going to start off with directories and databases. So number one, we have built with, so you can see what kind of tech all these websites are running. So you can, put in a specific website and see what kind of technologies they're using. Then you have brand nav and store leads for e-commerce, where you can see industry insights, analytics, specific niche segmentation as well for store leads. So very good e-commerce databases. Then you have Getlotka, which is a software database with a bunch of company data, industry segmentation, and a lot of other features. Then after that, you have Crunchbase, which is great for finding companies with funding. So if you're looking to target companies that are specifically funded by investors, you can check what type of investment they've had, how much, by who. So there's a lot of filtering that you can do. Very good tool. And yeah, they specialize mostly in software companies, so great database that you can use. GoodFirms is like a generic B2B services and software review platform, very similar to G2. So these two are pretty similar. They both focus really on software companies. So that's that. GoodFirms, you can get a lot more specific than G2 on filtering. For example, you can filter out for like only venue management softwares, where G2, it's a little more generic, but it's also a great database. Next is Ocean.io, where you can build great and easy lookalike lead lists from just inputting a few companies, right? Company websites. So if I put in, for example, Apple, it'll give me a bunch of other lookalike companies, and it's super quick, super easy. And then you could do research on those companies, find keywords on them in Apollo, and build a lead list from there. Clutch.co, find agencies in very specific industries that are providing various services. So they have a great assortment of agencies, specifically like email marketing you can filter out for, email marketing for e-com brands only. A lot of filtering that you can play around with, and there is also an exporter, I'm pretty sure, that you can use to actually see all those companies, export them, and build a lead list. Then Agency Vista, just as the name suggests, a bunch of agencies that you can look for, segmented as well, and SortList is very similar to Agency Vista. All of these have a decent amount of data, and they're pretty high quality because the companies actually have to be applied onto their database. So these are pretty high quality agencies that are on here. And then these are, where you usually find like the websites and everything, and then you enrich it with the contact info tools. So I'll get to that later. Next, we have email service providers. So there's 5 here, I'm pretty sure, and there's a few different options that you can go with depending on your needs, your budget, etc. Google Workspace, it used to be the best option that you can go with. Everyone recommended it. It worked like a charm, but as of last month, they implemented a lot of bans, and it just doesn't work for cold email anymore unless like you're running super low volume and you're super safe. But for most of us, it's not going to work. So, and also, it was a little more expensive than all the other options. Outlook is basically Google's replacement, where a lot of people transition to that. Now, it's a super similar setup process. It takes a little bit longer, but you have pretty good and reliable email accounts that will last you a while if you're following best practices. Adding spin tags, not having validated emails and all that. And the price is $7.20 per month per account. So relatively expensive, but again, if you're selling good stuff and you have a good email process and good sales process, well worth it. Next is MailScale and Inframail, which are both private email infrastructures. meaning it's not anything related to Outlook, Google, all the main ESPs. Just they're privately owned, and Mailscale is the one I would recommend if you're going privately owned. That's the one that we used to use and still use sometimes for some cases. It's the most bang for your buck if you're running a little bit on a budget, or if you're looking to just send crazy volume. It's probably going to be your best bet. They are newer to the market, so they've only been around for a few months, I think maybe half a year even, and they did have a few hiccups, but their support team is pretty good. A completely automated email process, so there's no work involved. You just fill out a type form and you're good to go. And pricing is super cheap at $1 per month per account. So that's that. Informail is super similar. They did have a pretty big crash in their system earlier last year, so just keep that in mind. I do recommend that you do your own research. I just included it. I don't necessarily recommend it, but because there are lots of mixed opinions online, and their pricing is also really cheap. So next and last one is Superwave, which is very interesting. They just had a huge boom in popularity. A lot of the very popular people on Twitter, on LinkedIn are using it. Very high focus on high volume. Recommended only for lead generation agencies because, well, you can send, I'm pretty sure it's like 8,000 emails with your account on day one, something like that. So extremely high volume, good deliverability once they are warmed up. And if you really wanted to, you can start sending from day one, just with the way that their system is built out. To be honest, I don't understand how their system is built out, but I know a lot of people put in good word for them and have heard nothing negative. They do have heavier upfront costs, cheaper in the long run compared to other providers, and they do change their pricing a decent amount, so depends what they tell you really. But super cool guys as well there. Okay, so next we have scrapers that you can use to scrape data. Popular one is Outscraper. You can use it for a bunch of different, a bunch of other sources. So Google, Amazon, Trustpilot, Yellow Pages, a lot of other ones as well. Very customizable. You can find a lot of different stuff on there. Pretty fair pricing, not too expensive. And I'm pretty sure I scraped one time 40K leads for I think $120, so pretty good, and a lot of possibilities. Also worth mentioning that they do have an API, so if you want to build out systems around it or whatever. Next is Export Apollo, where you can export Apollo, just as the name suggests, pretty cheaply. I'm pretty sure you can pay under $3 or just about a $3 price mark for 1,000 leads, which is very cheap. These two are basically the same thing, just I do recommend Export Apollo as it has an actual app and it's much more reliable. I've never had problems with it, and they do have a great support team. Next is Appify. Tons of scrapers for literally thousands of websites, thousands of use cases. It does involve a little more work and you actually have to set it up, but it's very good. And it's good for the solutions that you won't find an app built out for it, but you can use it for that. So Apollo, Crunchbase, Google Maps, Facebook, and tons of other ones. D7 Lead Finder can get a ton of leads for cheap. I don't use it anymore just because there's no need, and also it's just so hard and uncomfortable. The UI isn't that good, and you can't really segment that well compared to the other lead sources. So don't recommend it, but it is an option worth taking a look at. And then if you're looking to scrape GMB, in the description you can find this document and click on this link. We made a kind of a homemade solution to scraping Google. It's completely free, easy setup, and it just literally exports into a Google Sheet right away. So you can try that. It's completely free. Documents right here. Next is to get the contact data. So once you get all the websites from their directories, you're able to insert them into these, or you can just build it out straight in these softwares. So number one, you most likely have heard of it, Apollo. It's the go-to B2B database where you basically only make sense to work with an exporter, like I mentioned above. It has a lot of data, scrapes directly from LinkedIn, and gives you basically everything you need. Um, Overall, like, you'll never go wrong with using Apollo. ZoomInfo, extremely expensive. Unless you have a lot of money to throw at data, don't recommend it because their pricing starts at 15K. So their whole thing is they focus on intent-based data, which allows you to like personalize a message to people at companies, um, based off of like how they've searched for your service. So intent-based data, that's their thing. To be honest, I have never tried it, so I can't say good or bad. I'm just saying it's a thing. ListKit, very cool SaaS built out by the founders of Client Ascension. Their goal is to be the easiest database that you can use for email and phone numbers. Triple verified everything. You don't need any other tools other than ListKit to build a list. So you don't need an email verifier. Don't need like a list, like anything, right? It can literally directly import into your Smart Lead campaign if you even wanted to. So they put a lot of emphasis on the convenience of it, but that doesn't mean that the data is bad. The data is very good. I have tried it. I have ran campaigns with it, and it works extremely well. Easy to use. Support team is just very, very good. They'll literally get on a call with you, just to kind of help you out. So very good. And the pricing is competitive as well. They just made a change to be cheaper than Apollo if you used Apollo normally. So it's honestly not that bad in terms of pricing. Highly recommend you give it a try. Now, Clay.com is actually a automation tool, right? So they don't store any data on their own, but you're able to take a list and enrich their information. For example, if you have websites or LinkedIn profiles, you're able to just build out a list within there. We personally use it more for personalization, relevance, that type of stuff, but there are so many possibilities with Clay.com. To be honest, we haven't even scratched the surface of what they can do. We've been using it a lot for personalization and relevance, but it's such a good idea, and it's great execution by the team. So highly recommend you check it out. One thing you may not know is that you can use it for free if you have your own OpenAI API key. And if you run it for like a simple task for like 1,000 leads, it'll probably come out to like $5 or $10. So it's great for like personalized first lines, creating ideas for outreach, like for sending in the copy at mass. And if you want to learn more about it, Eric Novoslawski and the official Clay YouTube are great resources to learn more. Next, these three are databases that we use to basically create a waterfall. So if we export a list from Apollo and we have 70% only with emails and the rest don't give us emails, but we have their first name, last name, and website, we're able to go to these and basically create a waterfall and enrich more data from here, then from here, and then from here, and fill in the gaps on what we have missing so that we're making the most of our lead list. So if you use these three, you'll probably get around an extra 20% of your lead list back with valid email addresses. So it's pretty huge. And yeah, they're all pretty good. This one's the cheapest, so that's the one that we use first, and then they get progressively more expensive. Next is sending tools. SmartLead and Instantly. Both are very good. I've used both. SmartLead has a good API, so that's why we use it to build out our systems. But I have nothing wrong to say about Instantly. They're both very good. Good support teams. Pricing is basically the same. So that's that. And then SMTP verification tools. We use Million Verifier. We used to use ListClean, but I do not recommend you use it because you're going to lose an extra around 10 to 15% of your leads, of your emails during that verification process. So you're just losing leads. Yes, it is a little cheaper, but you're losing all the leads. So use one of these three. They're all reputable and they're all well known. So hope this helps with your data and with your tech stack. Once again, if you do own a B2B business and you're looking for an extra 10 to 40 qualified sales calls, book a call below. I hope you learned something. And yeah, thanks.